It's Friday the 13th and it's a lucky day for hundreds of people in our region. Welcome to North East Tonight.
Yes, we've lots of good news in tonight's programme, as well as a full sport roundup and the weather too. Teesside's blast furnace will be relit this weekend, creating 1,600 jobs.
Join me in Redcar as the town prepares for one of its biggest days in history.
And good news on Tyneside, with up to 1,000 new jobs building the foundations for offshore wind turbines.
Plus, Ben has a big friend in Beefy, here to raise funds to fight childhood cancer. And
hi, my name is Chico.
And later in the programme, we'll be talking dancing on ice.
hello, it's going to be a great weekend on Teesside because, against all the odds, Redcar's blast furnace is being relit. Steelmaking is back, creating 1,600 jobs and investment of more than £1 billion.
When the blast furnace was mothballed in 2010, Teessiders thought their steelmaking days had come to an end. But that's all being turned round. And Francis Reid is there for us this evening. Francis.
Yes, it was just 2 years ago that we thought steelmaking on Teesside had gone forever. Now we're just a couple of days away from it being back. We're told that the blast furnace will be relit this weekend, and it's going to be a very happy day in Redcar's 150 years of steelmaking, which has seen its fair share of ups and downs. It was the 19th century when steel first came to Teesside. By the First World War, it had become the backbone of Britain and the heart of our region. It would become an industry that families were built on, and it seemed untouchable with blast furnaces across Teesside. But eventually, Britain moved on. After our motorways and bridges were built, the industry struggled. One furnace was left standing, and 3 years ago, at the start of the recession, no one was willing to keep it going. And a consortium that had promised to save the steel industry left Redcar in the lurch halfway through its contract.
1 minute this steelworks is selling steel after steel after steel and is at absolute maximum production, and the next minute it's completely useless and the world has no purpose for it. It was a real pride, it was a heritage, you know, however oppressed Redcar got, it always had its steel pride and its great history, and that was being cut away.
Dave Cox looked after the blast furnace for more than 30 years and was one of 1,600 workers who'd lose their jobs.
The time at which we actually pressed that final button to turn the blast furnace off, there were tears in the control room. Guys of 30, 40 years experience were very, very upset by everything that was going on. And I'm sure there was a great deal of despair amongst those that thought, well, really, maybe this is the end of my working career.
When all hope was lost, a new beginning. Last year, Thai firm SSI signed a £320 million deal, securing a future for the next generation on Teesside. SSI say it will succeed where others haven't, because instead of Europe's shrinking market, it will be made for the growing demand in Asia.
I'd like to believe what we're creating will be around for decades to come. Automobiles into white goods, at the moment in Thailand, but eventually into Cambodia, into Vietnam, into Burma. And if we can show capabilities that have never been shown before, I think the world will start to kind of wake up and say, well, okay, what's happening in Teesside?
It's taken months of hard work, but the dawn is almost here. This evening, it's rising from the ashes, and very soon the fire inside will burn brightly again. Well, today's announcement gives hope to the next generation on Teesside, as well as some of those workers who lost their jobs when the plant was mothballed. Brian Dennis was one of those workers facing redundancy, but now he's back at work and he's been talking to our reporter, Johnny Blair.
Brian Dennis is back, doing the job he loves. He's helped make steel here for more than 20 years, following in the footsteps of his father and his grandfather. When the plant was mothballed, Brian lost not only his job, but his identity.
The very last day, I seen grown men crying. It was very sad. Not only for the guys losing the jobs, it's an iconic place, Teesside. It's built on steel, and to lose like the very heart of your local communities, it was absolutely, I was gobsmacked. People want to come to work, they want to earn a decent wage, and they want to earn for the family in their local area. It's no good places like this closing down and everybody having to leave for the work, because that just decimates communities.
Brian found work elsewhere, but his heart remained here. For months, the plant was a shell housing only memories of the glory days. Then hope arrived from across the Atlantic.
Mr. Wynne came over, he'd seen us on the TV, he'd seen the people marching, the passion within the community for the place, the passion of the men wanting to work, letting people know, look, we're here, come for us, we'll do a good job for you. And so when the deal was signed, it was happy days all round, it really, really was. It was like a weight had been lifted from my shoulders, just a great feeling to be back on the plant that I know with 20 years experience.
When the blast furnace is strong, so too is the local economy.
The jobs are back there, the people are getting paid again, and you can spend your money locally, and so it enhances the community. You know, do we want Teesside to become a ghost town? No, we don't. This place is the heart of Teesside.
Brian Dennis is living history. He's a part of Teesside's industrial past, and now he's helping to shape its future.
Well, the cost of getting the blast furnace running again has been around £1 billion, and the deadline for the relighting has had to be put back over and over again because of technical problems which have now been ironed out so that it can be relit. Here's an idea of what will happen at the weekend. Take a look. So this is how the blast furnace is relit. Ingredients including iron ore go in. More than 30 airstreams are switched on. The air is so hot it gets to more than 1,000 degrees centigrade, and that relights the furnace. The cooling pipes stop the blast furnace from burning itself down. Molten iron comes out the bottom. And then to make steel, iron is taken across the site and made stronger by blowing oxygen on it. Eventually it goes into the casting plant where the liquid steel takes shape. 3 days after the process started, you get the finished product, steel. And that's all to come over the next few days. At one point we were reporting on the end of steel making on Teesside. Now it's a new beginning.
Francis, many thanks. And there is more good news for the region's economy. Up to 1,000 jobs could be created on Tyneside. The engineering firm OGN plans to make the foundations for offshore wind turbines.
It's been given a government grant to make a prototype before building a factory to mass produce them at Wallsend. From there, our business correspondent Ben Chapman reports.
It could be to renewable energy what Nissan is to car making. A huge plant working around the clock to make these foundation structures for offshore wind turbines, and making them in huge numbers.
The offshore market requires somewhere in the region of 6,000 structures in the next few years to be installed. But it's not just in the UK sector, the German market is buoyant as well. So there is a facility required to produce these structures in large numbers.
The company already makes similar structures for oil and gas platforms at this former shipyard. The new technology will be smaller, but will do the same job, sitting 30 metres underwater to anchor wind turbines to the seabed. By 2014, it could employ 1,000 people.
So what would you be teaching students in this room?
Jim Lomax runs an energy industry training centre in Wallsend and says renewables could soon create many thousands of new jobs.
I think the opportunities over the next 10 years are going to be fantastic. It's going to be a massive change in the country the way it is now. And I think the opportunities for younger people is that there are going to be a number of skills required to meet that renewable demand.
Today's announcement is another big boost to the region's ambitions to become a leader in green energy. These shipyards used to provide thousands of jobs and huge prosperity. Now renewables could be about to do the same. En Chapman in Wallsend.
Soldiers who've been fighting in Afghanistan received their operational service medals in front of friends and family in Newcastle this morning. 72 men and women from the Welsh Gunners took part in the parade. 132 Battery have been in Helmand Province providing precision fire support.
Now, it's Friday the 13th, so perhaps it's appropriate that the grim spectre of relegation hovers above tonight's. Now, on Sunday, it's 100 years since the Titanic sank. And next, we're going to hear the story of the ship's youngest officer who made the ultimate sacrifice to save the lives of others.
James Moody from Scarborough was one of 2 Yorkshire officers on the Titanic who helped passengers escape. Duncan Wood reports.
A 100 years ago, a young, ambitious mariner was looking forward to the greatest trip of his life on the greatest liner ever built. James Moody, through sheer determination and hard work, had fast-tracked himself through nautical exams to gain what's known as a master's ticket, which enabled him to qualify as the Titanic's 6th officer at the age of just 24.
He was staying in Grimsby with his aunt and uncle when he was called to go onto Titanic. He went across, joined Titanic in Belfast, and then set off on the maiden voyage. Being the most junior officer, he had specific duties, but he didn't have as much responsibility maybe as the older ones.
Moody's place in history was sealed late in the evening of April the 14th as the man who took the call from the crow's nest.
What did you see? Thank you. Iceberg, right ahead.
Fall! Stop! Despite his tender years, his training kicked in, helping against all the odds to save some of the 710 survivors, but ultimately sacrificing his own life.
They sent away quite a few lifeboats with no seamen or anybody in charge of them. And so the other officer, Officer Lowe, said to him, "We've sent all these boats away, one of us ought to go in the next one." And he said to Moody, "You go," and Moody said, "No, I'll go in the next one," and he didn't.
For decades in Scarborough, his heroics were the talk of just a handful who could remember. But on the 90th anniversary in 2002, a plaque was unveiled at the RNLI lifeboat station, and another is due to be unveiled at the house where he used to live in the town. Scarborough's Maritime Heritage Museum is to host a Titanic exhibition.
All the officers were hand-picked because Titanic was their flagship, effectively. It was a very prestigious voyage, as we know. So people like Murdoch and Moody and Box, they were all hand-picked for this voyage all the way down. They're picked as the best of the White Star people. Really didn't want to go on the lifeboats. Moody could have got away on one of the lifeboats earlier, we think. We're not sure, but he didn't.
Scarborough is not the only town to honour the Titanic hero. 150 miles west in Liverpool, there's a museum dedicated to HMS Conway, a training ship which turned out sailors and seamen of the highest quality for more than 100 years. James Moody was a cadet on Conway at the age of 14. After his death, Moody's parents donated a magnificent solid silver cup in his memory. It's now kept by the Conway Club, and a replica is awarded to the member of the club who's kept the best sailing log.
The Moody Cup's still sailed for by a few of us who've still got boats, but it's quite keenly contested, and it's all over the world. People send entries in for it, and we have an independent adjudicator, and at a dinner once a year the cup is presented. It's very important as things are dying away that we keep these traditions afloat and going.
The Moody Cup will be a lasting legacy to his bravery, as will the monument in Woodland Cemetery, testament to his selfless heroism as he thought of others above himself in the frightening, freezing waters of the North Atlantic.
James Moody, a hero in a terrifying event. Well, let's turn our thoughts to another hero who wants to help others now, cricket hero Sir Ian Botham. He's been walking through our region on his latest fundraising challenge. Beefy's Great British Walk visits 10 towns across the UK in 10 days to raise money for research into children's cancer.
Joining him today in Newcastle was 8-year-old Ben Charlton. Ben's been fighting leukemia for 2 years and is now in remission. And children like him have been Sir Ian's inspiration for the past 25 years. Julie Harrison reports.
Walking to beat childhood blood cancer, Beefy strides out to raise cash and awareness to help youngsters battling the disease. Ben Charlton's dad David struggled to keep pace, but just being part of the walk means a lot.
It's more important than anything. I would have done it, you know, what you see, I would have done it with a broken leg. Nothing would have stopped us from walking today, nothing.
Ben is undergoing maintenance treatment, which means that although he's in remission, he has another year of chemotherapy to endure.
Really, it's just great that it's gone now, but we just need to make sure it stays away.
There is a cure there and we need to find it. At present, we've gone from 20% survival for Ben's type of leukemia to over 90%. And this is done through research organisations like Leukemia and Lymphoma Research and people who will give their time, like Sir Ian Botham, to raise the money.
Sir Ian has spent a quarter of a century fundraising to help fight childhood cancer.
The more we can discover about cancer of the blood, which leukemia is, who knows what other doors that will open for other forms of cancer. And that's why we'll keep on going one way or another. We do the walking, we raise some money and we raise awareness, and then we hand it all over to the scientists.
Today's walk through our region covered 14 miles, but Sir Ian will be covering a total of 160 miles in a different city every day.
Leeds, Manchester, Sheffield, Birmingham, Cardiff, Cambridge, Norwich, London. And then I'm going on holiday.
Put your feet up.
I'm going fishing. Gone fishing.
Ben and Beefy made a great team today. For both of them, there's a long journey ahead, but both are determined to make sure that every step counts. Julie Harrison reporting in Newcastle.
So important steps. Some fairly quick steps there as well, aren't there?
I'm not sure you and I could keep up with him. Well, we've some more fast-moving celebs next. The stars of ITV's Dancing on Ice are performing at the Metro Radio Arena in Newcastle.
Rachel Sweeney went to see them before tonight's show.
Celebrity skaters, luminous lights and fabulous frocks. It must be Dancing on Ice. The television series has aired and now it's time to tour.
Well, the audience here always seem to be really loud and just
that's
really,
a good thing, by the
that's
way.
very good and really enthusiastic, and it just really boosts the confidence of all our celebrities and our professional skaters to hear the crowd behind them.
Thousands of people will be here tonight. What can they expect?
Well, there's a whole host of things. I mean, we've got last year's champion and this year's champion going head to head. And having said that, the standard of skating from this last series I think has been the highest in the history of the show. So to see all of that put together, and then for us, the big thing is we're hosting the show tonight.
Who better to host than the icons of the ice? Tonight is opening night and the celebrities seem happy to be in the region.
I absolutely love the Northeast, especially Newcastle, because I've been here with the X Factor 5 years ago, and if it's anything to go by, oh my God, we are in for a treat. Because people up here are mad loud and know how to have a good time. My kind of people, so bring it on.
I love Newcastle. I absolutely love the Geordie accent. I went out shopping the other day and I made everyone tell me directions of where to go, even though I could see what was going on.
The question we all want to ask, what is it like backstage?
I feel everyone, whether they like it or not, we've all kind of bonded a little bit more because we're all in the same dressing rooms now. It wasn't like on the TV show because we were all separate. Now we're all girls together. I don't know, what was it like for the boys?
Same for the guys.
No gossip there then. From actors to athletes, the celebrities have had to adapt to the intense training.
Yeah, slightly different to the day job. It's a bit slippier than my normal day job, but yeah, I love it. I love it. I tell you what, if I could do this full time, I'd love to. It'd be great.
Well, you won a television award for a comedy performance. So has that been coming across on the ice?
Yeah, I'd like to think that the comedy sides come out of me. The two routines that I'm doing on the show, I'm doing 500 miles, which is probably my favourite skate, and then my second number is Let's Get It On. Two really comedy moments, so I'm looking forward to performing in front of thousands of people. It's going to be amazing.
More than 5,000 people will be here for tonight's performance, and the good news is there's still a few tickets left. So get your skates on. Rachel Sweeney in Newcastle.
Skates and sequins blend in.
Very colourful, isn't it?
They'll have a great time if you are going, because I judged it last year. I was ruthless.
Were you?
Oh, were you? That's not like you.
This weekend at Grand National.
Absolutely.
Is the going to be good?
Well, it is looking chilly, not that will bother the horses, with sunny spells and showers. So the 70,000 spectators would be best to have a brolly with them. All 40 riders will want a clear and not too gusty day, I suspect, for that 4 mile and 4 furlong course. And it does look like the conditions will be fine. Now, among the horses from our region competing is this lovely boy who will be ridden by top jockey Ruby Walsh. On his own, seen here winning at Gowrie Park in Ireland in January, is owned by Newcastle businessman Graham Wiley. For one day only, though, he'll be owned by Seymour Curdy, the owner of Newcastle Falcons Rugby Club. He bid a tidy sum in aid of charity to see On His Own race at Aintree tomorrow, and he's expected to win a tidy sum if the horse romps home in the first 6. Well, another runner, trained not too far away at Norton near Malton, is According to Pete. No doubt there'll be a few Yorkshire punters, possibly called Pete, backing him this weekend. He's won 2 big chases already this season, including the Peter Marsh at Haydock in January. And his jockey, Harry Haynes, will be making his Grand National debut too.
I've ridden him in his 5 races this season so far, and he does everything you sort of want him to do. He looks like a national would suit him, you know.
It'd be great for Yorkshire, it'd be great for my staff. And if we win it, we'll have a party, you know. But you can't go there saying you're going to win the national, because there's an awful lot of things that can go wrong in the national as well. As long as he comes back safe and sound, that would be the first thing, wouldn't it, Pet? It would.
Lovely horse.
He's right. Just all the horses must get home safe. That's what we want.
Absolutely, that's the most important thing.
Absolutely. Well, if you've got plans this weekend, here's what's happening on the weather front.
Karting Northeast. Outdoor karting or paintball, whatever the weather. Sponsors of the ITV Regional Weather.
A cutesy-wootsy picture to end the working week. This mallard chick was captured, not literally, obviously, by Ray Hutchin, who lives in Stokesley in North Yorkshire. Very, very cute. If you take photographs over the weekend, send them to pip@itv.com. Grab your coat. It is going to be cold, and it's cold tonight. A widespread ground frost, touch of air frost in really rural parts as well, as temperatures do get down possibly below freezing in some parts. And also we're going to have the risk of some wintry showers, mainly on the tops of the hills. At lower levels, it will be just rain. So, sunrise and sunset times tomorrow, 6:04 and 8:09. A messy, messy day tomorrow. Lots of cloud in the morning with longer spells of rain. This system is working its way southwards, so come the afternoon, we are expecting skies to brighten up from the north, but it will still be showery. We've got a strengthening wind. Temperatures crawling at best to 8 or 9 Celsius, feeling more like February than April. Sunday is very similar. Next week, it's blustery showers. Take care, enjoy your weekend.
Karting Northeast, sponsors of the ITV Regional Weather.
Thank you, Pip. Now, for what it's worth, I think According to Pete has got a great chance in the National. My other tip is West End Rocker. There's also racing at Newcastle tomorrow.
Whatever you're doing.